attention to the small details. I do that naturally. And on top of that, whatever I can do to help accentuate the points that they're trying to make, I'm going to do that and back my guys up. So I'm looking forward to it. It's an honor. It's a privilege to work with these guys. And, again, talking about being excited. Now, I won't go to the point of getting myself kicked off the sidelines like somebody, but I will tell you this. I am so invested in it, love the Browns and what it represents of being a part of this iconic organization. Looking forward to it. And like Nathan said, September can't get here fast enough.
Yeah, and Jim, my goodness, what a season. I mean, this AFC is a snake pit. You've got all the things that this team has done, the addition of Deshaun Watson, a top 5 quarterback in this league, an AFC, which is just an absolute meat grinder. The excitement for this season. Again, we're not wishing summer to go away. We want to enjoy summer a lot. But this season has the potential to be an incredible one.
It really does. And, and I know last season we didn't hit the mark the way we thought because, for a lot of reasons. But sometimes you learn from that. You learn from a tough season, and you come into the next season kind of like what happened in 19, and then in 20 it was really good, right? And they learned from what happened in 19 and how they didn't hit the point of where they wanted to be. And I think now you look at it and you can't help but be excited, and you can't feel that guys look back at last year and say, gosh, maybe that one slipped away. We're not going to let that happen again. So it is very exciting. From the radio side, and I think, Nathan experiences it down on the sideline, and Gerard certainly as a player did, but and up in the broadcast booth, a great radio broadcast in an NFL game is kind of like a symphony of sound, and it really is, and you bring that, it's an amazing feeling in a packed stadium, moments before the game, or as momentum in a game changes on a turnover or a great play, and how you orchestrate that and the chemistry that comes and how the different parts of the broadcast fit. We'll get into a rhythm together, and it will be very, very natural, I think, and we'll find out how each other work and how it works the best. And it really becomes a great thing that people, I think, get very comfortable with as a listener, and that's why I think they really enjoy their local broadcasts because they get very comfortable with the people who are a part of it. And so you spend Sunday afternoons with 3 guys that you would sit beside maybe in the dog pound, if you're going to the game. And I think that that's the goal, and I'm sure we'll get over that goal line.
There's a voice, it's a friendly voice, but a voice of God too. It's in your ear, and I know that's something that you'll bring to the team when you think about. We have fun here on the show talking about the scores and stuff, but the scores are the scores for a reason.
That's right.
And the insight that you have within the organization is something that I think will be an incredible asset to this team.
Yeah, that's what I tried to bring when I was on the sideline. And as Jim knows, when you're on the sideline, and Gerard, you will find out, it goes very quickly because all of a sudden you may think you have a great point to make, and then they break the huddle, and you got to get it back up to Jim so that he can paint the picture like only he can. So I'm excited to have, not much more time, but maybe a little more time to be able to share some of those stories, especially about our players, and even into the preseason, kind of give that background on guys fighting to make the roster, my relationship with the coaches. And we have an incredible staff who've been very generous with me in terms of helping me learn about the game so that I can speak intelligently about what we're seeing out there on the field, but also to understand some of those things that are going on in the building that will translate to what we see on the field on Sundays. And by the way, I'm thrilled also to be up there because when you're up there, you can see the field, you can see the game, you can see the route concepts unfold, you can see the defensive coverages unfold, and it's going to be pretty exciting, I think, to be able to see that, bring that, and kind of add some of those points about what I know, the tendencies, and get into some of the numbers of what we should expect every Sunday from this Browns team, which, by the way, as we were talking earlier, Jim, when Denzel was asked about how great it is in the AFC, it's like, hey, we're pretty good too, and I think we are going to be a pretty darn good football team to talk about.
Has he told you anything about wardrobe? November,
certainly.
December, you getting into?
I said just be warm at the second half of the year. Like, you got to survive, man.
Some sort of waterproof is going to be required. You had 3 different types of weather, 3 different extreme weathers in one game. The game against Houston a couple of. So that's what you're in for. So wardrobe-wise, Gerard, we want to make sure you're on top of that, buddy.
Oh, I'll be ready to go for that because I have tricks from the trade with being a player to keep yourself warm. Because you got to remember, as a player, obviously you're not fully covered. So with that, petroleum jelly works. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can employ.
You haven't done that.
No, I never did that.
So there's some different things that you can put in practice that will help you stay warm. But ultimately, like I said, been on the sidelines for 9 years as a professional player, you know what to expect. You know certain days it could be brutally cold out there. And also doing the pregame shows, I had to learn, too, that you have to come prepared with your dress code as well. So,
We're
believe
still trying
me.
to make sure Hanford knows that.
Yeah, exactly.
He still hasn't gotten
Exactly.
that memo.
Jim, I know you've experienced this, Z, as well, in terms of what it will mean when, I mean, you dare to dream when you think about winning it all and being that. And I always think you're masterful at this. You are the conductor when you think of overseeing it all. I think that perch is appropriate for you, and the way that you called the run to the playoffs a couple of years ago. We are in for now a pretty remarkable run, it seems. You don't want to put the cart before the horse, but this is a young team, good cap situation, incredible top 5 in the league quarterback. All of those things start to line up. You think about this is going to be the group of record that ought to call really one of the golden eras in Browns football.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I dream about it a lot, Beau. I dream about it
Same.
daily. I mean, I have walked around the Metro Park down at around Hinkley Lake for like 16 years, and the Browns have a dynasty down there because I recreate games and call play-by-play, walking the dogs around the lake, and that's how I kind of get into the rhythm of everything. So, I mean, I dream of that. You know, you bring up a really good point. And I want to go back to just Doug for a moment. If you really think about what Doug did throughout his career, minus the 64 championship game, which he wasn't a part of, but if you think of the things that he was a part of that are just amazing, I mean, he was part of the Cardiac Kids. He was part of that. He played in that epic Ice Bowl Raider Red Right 88 playoff game. He was a part of that. And then he seamlessly went up into the broadcast booth, and he became part of the Kozar era and those incredible playoff games, the double overtime game against the Jets, those AFC championship games against the Denver Broncos, and then, you know, ushered in the new era. And I would always say to him, Doug, I want to be calling those games that you were a part of, both as a player and as a broadcaster, up in that old rickety wooden press box that they had, broadcast booth on the top of that old stadium down on the lake, Municipal Stadium, and he was a part of that. And that's what we want to do. You want to be there for the call of that game. And like I said the day they made the playoffs in the win and you're in game against Pittsburgh, the only thing that was missing was all of the people. Because you could have only imagined the sound factory that would have been on that afternoon as those seconds and Mayfield, you know, got that first down and the game was over and they were really going to the playoffs, and what that would have been like. Now, for the 14,000 that were there, it was something they'll never forget. But, you know, I want to be there, and I know these guys do too, when it's for real and it's full and it's really the moment that nobody will ever forget as a Browns fan. And you want to call that.
Well, you will.
And you will. That's right.
I think the other thing to note here, folks, is that none of you are Northeast Ohioans by birth. You're not. You came here, and every one of you have the talent to do this anywhere else, and you chose to do it here. Yeah. And part of the reason you do it here is it matters a little bit more here. And I know no one knows that more than you in terms of what you see in terms of the show we do and the experiences you have as the conduit from the fans to the organization. But it's that passion and the responsibility, I think it comes with serving that passion, that is so critical to what you guys are going to do going forward.
You're right about that, and that's the word that, you know, when they asked me, and I gave some comments about, you know, this that'll, I guess, be in the press release, and that's the word I used was responsibility. You have responsibility to the best fans in I think all of professional sports. As you pointed out, I grew up in the Bay Area. Gerard spent some time out in the Bay Area as well, and, you know, I grew up in the Joe Montana era, and it means so much more here than it did in the Bay Area, even though that was one of the greatest runs any organization's had in a decade. It means so much more here. And you're talking about being there. And, you know, I was one of the few people on the planet, literally, that were at the playoff game in Pittsburgh because there was literally nobody there. And the opportunity to get to have that happen now with this team for this city and everybody together, I think is so special. And to be just a small part of bringing that voice to the people during those times, I think is going to be, I mean, you get goosebumps just thinking about it.
Well said. And one of the things for me, I went to a high school where football didn't matter. I went to a college where football didn't matter. Now, obviously, when I got to the pro level, I went to a couple teams that weren't that good, but football did somewhat matter. But to live in a community, well, one, I've been embraced and I'm not from here. It's just tremendous because people ask me all the time, why do you live in Northeast Ohio? Why don't you go back to California? And I tell them, I love the sense of community that you have here in Northeast Ohio and what it represents. And it's been nothing but great towards me and my family. And my friends that I built through living here has just been incredible. But the other part of it, too, is just being a part of a situation where football really does matter and actually living in an environment where it is 24/7 We could be 0-16, we could be 1-15, but it still matters. It still permeates everyone's consciousness around the community. So I love being a part of this, and I'm excited about being a part of this. And I could talk ball all day, every day, and guess what? It's embraced around here.
When you go out in this city, I'm sure when you go anywhere in the city, if I go anywhere in the city, you go anywhere in the city, people want to come up to you and talk about the Browns the entire time you are anywhere in public, because that's how much it means to the city. It doesn't matter if it's January, it doesn't matter if it's June, it doesn't matter if it's August, September. It is a Browns town, and there's something that is palpable and tangible about that love that this fan base has for this historic organization, and to be somebody who's got to become a part of that. And I've done it on the sidelines for 8 seasons, and now to get to come up into the booth with Jim is going to be, for me, just – I still can't believe it's real. Like, part of the reason I want to get to September, because once I'm actually doing it, it'll actually feel real. But I'm so excited.
And Jim, we were talking before the show about you growing up in Boston and the legendary voices you heard.
Yeah.
And one of the great sports cities in the world in Boston, and the passion that they had for the Bruins and later the Celtics with Bird in the 80s and the Red Sox forever. That is all kind of wrapped up here. I mean, you're getting that's the football version is right here.
Yeah, and when I first came here and I interviewed here in Cleveland to get the job, that was in 1985, I couldn't believe it right away. I mean, the Browns were coming off kind of a so-so year. Marty Schottenheimer had become the head coach of the team. He had been the interim head coach at the end of that season. Kozar then changed everything when he made the announcement, hey, I'm going to leave Miami. I want to come into the NFL, and I want to play in Cleveland. And I just couldn't believe, the reaction that everybody was just counting down to go out to training camp to see him, and it was like a rock star, and they all were like rock stars, and it's just continued no matter what the record is, like you said, and it has been a little lean at times, but it's just amazing how it just everybody has their arms around it, and everybody worries about it, they fret about it, they celebrate it, they take the losses with the team, they celebrate the wins with the team. It's absolutely it's a very, very special situation, and I know it is like that in other NFL towns. But it's very unique to this town. It really is. And I think people around the country realize it. And it has such a following. It's so unbelievable when we go on the road and we see the Browns fans come out in whatever city you're at, and how they remember it, and how they remember the great days, and how they want those days to come back. And I think they are here.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that Canton's an hour down the road.
That's what we do.
Paul Brown and all of it. The connection of all of it is incredible. Well, I'm thrilled for all of you guys. This is really awesome.
If I can slip a quick story in, I hope these guys have had a great day, because the day I got the Browns job back in 1999. And they were bringing me downtown to the Blue Point, nice restaurant, right? To offer me the job. And it was something that I had waited for all my life, but specifically for the Browns job for about a year of auditions and interviews and extra auditions and things like that. So finally, it was the greatest day to get the nod that you got the job. And I wake up that morning, and I have 2 roaring toothaches. And I go down to the Blue Point, and I'm sitting there, and they're saying, congratulations. And I'm going, thanks very much, thank you very much. And I did everything. I mean, I had Advil. I even went back to my Irish upbringing and took a shot of whiskey to try and kill the pain. And here was the greatest day of my career. I mean, as a kid, holding the tape recorder in Boston Garden, and then sending the tapes out and doing all the, all the stops, Beau, that we've done in this crazy business. And I'm the voice of the Cleveland Browns, and I really can't celebrate it. And at the end of the luncheon, I immediately went and had 2 emergency root canals that afternoon on the day I got the Browns job. So I hope your dental health is good. And
Feeling good right now, yeah.
I hope this is a great day for you.
It is.
Because I think it's going to be a great experience for all of us.
And Jim, for the record, you can interrupt with all the stories
you want.
That's
right.
As much as you want. For as long as you want. You want an hour and a half? We can do them all. I'll take them all, buddy. So this is it. It's a big day for the organization, a big day for the 3 of you. This is your official game day radio team for your Cleveland Browns for 2022 and beyond. The great Jim Donovan, of course, Nathan Zegura, Gerard Cherry. We're off and running here. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Ohio Business Machine, preferred copier provider of your Cleveland Browns. Of all the X's and O's for your office, call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. From an entire room of luminaries, and a luminary presents themselves now. Our good buddy Glenn Cook, VP of Player Personnel, joining us.
Yeah, this is a
Big L.
Big L.
Big L luminary.
Huge.
Yeah.
Stop.
I covered him in the state championship game, Florida high school football.
You guys go way back.
Yeah. He was good.
Yeah, I know.
He could play a little bit.
I know he could play real football at a very high level. Did it in high school, did it in college, and then I was back when I was still a semi-young man, which I wasn't actually. I was probably the oldest guy in the league. He was in the flag football league, and
I'm retired, yeah.
Glenn was. I'm retired as well. Glenn was very formidable.
I had to save the Achilles before they went out.
Mine was, I felt like after one of my throws, my arm was just going to fly, detach itself like from my body, and that was it.
The body speaks.
Yeah.
The body speaks.
Loudly.
The Achilles thing is a terrible fear.
I wanted no parts, yeah.
Yeah.
You're not rehabbing.
No.
Not doing that, man.
No.
Did everybody, when you stepped in, was everyone aware in the flag football of your previous abilities?
Yes.
Well, I know you were, but did everybody in the organization who played in the league, were they aware of what Mr. Cook was all about?
If they weren't and they had eyes, it was readily apparent.
It was fun. It was just fun, you know. I didn't take it too serious.
We had some legit people out there.
We did compete. It was very competitive.
Who else? Who could cover?
Our general manager
was AB?
Yeah, AB.
he was basically Ed Reed on defense and then Michael Vick on offense.
Yeah.
He was he's the most dominant flag football player I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
He was quarterback?
I mean, he was a 4-4 guy coming out. So I mean,
Was he
And
really?
he could lefty, and he can sling it.
Yeah.
And then on defense, he covered the whole field. We
covered
played
the
them one game, and our team scored like the most points in the league. The last year I played, or second last year, the last time AB played. Yeah. There was a game where he couldn't make it because he was in meetings for the first half. And I remember we scored right before the half to go up, like, we'll call it 28-6. Feeling pretty good. Not
good the second half.
No.
Equalizer.
He could cover an entire field.
No, he was definitely the most athletic, dominant dude out there.
That's amazing. That's fantastic.
Bonkers.
It looks like he can still run 4.5 when I see him bouncing around in here.
Bonkers. Giuliani also under the radar.
Dave,
Bonkers.
Rudy?
Dave. Who does a lot of our. He's the guy who keeps everybody, should we go for it here? Should we do this? A lot of situation updates in the head. He's
Sure.
he's fast. You
He's
give him the
legit.
ball, he's gone.
Yeah. I mean, played at Stanford baseball.
That's a lot of athletes.
Oh, wow.
Wow, yeah.
What is the next 24 hours like for you?
Quiet.
All right,
No,
48.
I mean,
the next 48 hours.
Yeah. So we're having our final discussions, and for us it'll be a little bit differently because it's a little more wait and see, right? So we have the luxury of waiting a whole day or at least 12 hours to kind of see how the first round played out and analyze who's available, who could potentially be available. Do we want to move up? Do we want to move back? Do you want to sit? And kind of just take it from there. So it's not the worst place to be sometimes, We can kind of sleep on it and think about who could potentially be on the team.
You guys have not picked at your assigned spot in the second round the last 2 years since AB's come back as a general manager. You've moved back, got Grant Delpit. Oh, and by the way, Nick Harris for free for moving back. And then last time you move up and go get Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I would also point out that you guys have gotten people that were pretty much consensus first-round picks in the second round. And so you were getting first-round talents in the second round. You'd like to be able to do that again this year, right? How does this draft kind of stack up from the ability to do something like that?
I mean, we don't know how it plays out. The market is a market sometimes. So I don't think anyone saw us moving up, 9 picks? 7 picks to get JOK.
It wasn't in any of your simulations. You guys ran 1 billion simulations, and that never happened.
Yeah, so I think we try to prepare ourselves well enough to be agile for any situation. So that could be moving back a couple spots, a lot of spots, moving up multiple spots. Obviously we have a foundational strategy, but it's really about acquiring talent. So we're going to put ourselves in the best position to do that first and foremost. So we'll see. It's an interesting place to be. Again, not having a first-round pick this year, but I think we feel good about how we'll approach it.
Yeah, we were saying you could just say your first round pick is Deshaun Watson for the next 3 years.
couple years,
Then you feel pretty good about that. In terms of, we've never been in a room. We've seen the movie Draft Day, but what is it like in there? What can you compare it to other experiences?
So it's funny. I think every room is different, right? Like some, you have tons of people, your entire scouting group, your medical staff may be in there, some coaching staff, obviously the ownership group. Some there's just head coach, GM, ownership, right? So every room's different. I think we take a little bit more of a smaller group approach. And honestly, we've had so many discussions and worked through it so much beforehand. There's not much to be talked about. It's really, this is how this played out. This is what we would do in this situation. So I think it's probably not as exciting as Draft Day, the movie, in that regard. There's not a lot of arguing or yelling, but it's different.
Have you been in ones that do have that?
I have a couple of stories. I don't know if I can.
No, sure, but just
but
in terms of how different it is now than others you've experienced.
Yeah, I think there's always situations where it gets intense, because you feel passionate about a player and you want to speak up. You have time constraints because you're on the clock. So yeah, when you want to make your final push and statement on a guy, it could be a little contentious, but that's the healthy nature of it. If you don't want to get too crazy about it, but yeah, I've seen a few things in my days.
So one of the things I talked to AB Monday and for our draft preview show, and I asked him, about trades and how does that go. And one of the things he said that I found very interesting was that basically every time you make a pick in the first 3 rounds, and maybe even into the 4th, either you're making a call or you're getting a call at that pick. Mm-hmm. What's that situation like? And these are things that you're always prepared for? I would imagine you guys are. I'm sure that's one of the P's, right? You guys are prepared. Yep. You got a plan. You got a process to implement that plan. But is that kind of fun when the phone rings? You're like, oh, what are they going to say? Because you never know, right? It could be something.
That's the thing.
Great.
You never know what's coming out of the mouth of the person on the other end, right? Like it could be, hey, are you guys interested in moving back? There's a guy we're targeting. We really want your spot. And your response is, okay, what are you offering?
Right.
Or it could be, hey, in a couple picks, if this guy's available, would you be interested? And then on the other end, we're calling and saying, hey, we're trying to get out of the spot. What are you willing to do? So, yeah, especially early on, there's a lot of activity. People like to move around and yo-yo a little bit. So that part is pretty fun. We kind of split up the call so it's not too crazy and you're not –
so you have like a group of people.
Yeah, it's
who
like 3 of us. So it'll
yeah.
be me, Ken, and Sags on the phone this year, making sure we keep that part under control.
Do you guys do some like good cop, bad cop ever?
Nah.
Okay.
Nah. Everybody has their sheets these days.
Kovac should be bad cop, no doubt.
I'll tell them you said that. But everyone has their sheets and kind of how they value each pick, and so you typically find a middle ground somewhere and work out a deal. If you really want to work a deal out, you get it done. Typically on the clock, it's all right, fine, let's do it.
So like go back a couple of years ago with Grant, and obviously to make a move, you have to be okay with the person that if you stayed there and picked the potential that it's gone. I know you guys do your research and kind of your investigating, so you felt good that he would still be there. But when you make a move like that, are those picks, the next few picks, nervous?
Oh, I mean, you don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like, everyone can say, oh, we feel good, and the odds are X, Y, and Z, and the probability of one of those players being there is X. But you don't know, so you're taking a gamble, and that's part of our business is taking risks, not only in picking players, but also where we position ourselves to pick them. So yeah, it's no fun to have that lump in your stomach. I don't care what anybody says. If you don't have that, this thing isn't important to you. It's no different than being a player. So yeah, you kind of hold your pants a little bit, waiting for you got to be there. But that's the fun part of it.
You're one of the most emotionally level guys I know, but I am sure, or maybe there's not. Have you ever found yourself getting emotionally attached to a prospect and seeing it slip out?
I mean, definitely. The way our process is built up, you can't help but do that sometimes, right? Like you get the first, I'll say, taste of who the person is, say in August when you visit the school for the first time and they actually talk about them. And then you go to a couple more practices and a couple more games. And then you meet them at an all-star game. And then you have an opportunity, if they're fortunate enough, to meet them at the Senior Bowl. Mm-hmm. And so just you build relationships and you root for guys. And
your guys.
You hear different stories of the challenges and adversity that some of these young men face. And so, yeah, you have to guard against that clouding your judgment sometimes because, as humans, we root for all of us to be successful. And there's some you really root for just because you understand where they came from. So Yeah, I definitely have favorites in every draft, irregardless of like what level of talent I think they are, or how well I think they'll do in the NFL. There's always guys you favor.
Is there a guy in the past that you were like, I love that dude, and it didn't work out, and it's worked out for him elsewhere? Just the timing didn't work? Is there somebody that jumps
in terms
to mind?
of like being on the team I was a part of?
Yeah, or even not. Even a guy that we messed out on, whether it was a team that you were in the front office or not, but you loved him in the process, and you knew that he would be something, and he ended up being it. What's a hit that you didn't end up being able to capitalize on? Is there anyone that jumps to mind?
That's a good question. Let me give that
Thank
one.
you. This is what I do.
That is Big B. That's right.
I'll say my first year, Bobby Wagner. Yeah. He was, and honestly, this isn't like, you can have a little hindsight bias here, but it wasn't because I thought he would be a great player.
Yeah.
Because I was green. I didn't know. I played linebacker in college, but it was my first year in the league. But there's just something about him. So I had to, when I was in Indianapolis, I had to read all the reports, background, the player evaluation component of it, sometimes edit them if they were necessary. So first time I read his report, this dude was like a special guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Forget the player part of it, right? But just a special guy. And he was like my favorite guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was my favorite guy. And then fortunately he went on to be pretty good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's probably
That's a good one.
Unfair answer, but like the person, and I think he's gone on to do great things like in venture capital, a lot of stuff in the community in Seattle and probably where he is in LA now. But yeah, that was one.
That's good and it's a gold jacket, so that'll.
I was gonna say, yeah,
that's
that's a nice.
pretty good.
That's
Yeah.
probably on his resume. He's like, he had to. Let me think about. Bobby Wagner.
Let's go
I
back
really
to
thought,
that.
Yeah, I really thought Bobby
That's a
Wagner.
good one, yeah.
He might be okay. He might be all right. He might be all right. He's done a good job. I was talking with AB as well, and Paul DiPodesta had told us about this last year. But the exercise where you try to put together a draft board, and the draft board can only have people that everybody or multiple people have said, yeah, that's my dude. I banged the table for that guy, and couldn't be made up of anybody where somebody was like, I don't want that guy. That's a guy that I'm against. And then you ended up with like 12 people who were obviously going very early in the first round. But just to kind of show how difficult it is and how so many people who are excellent at what they do can see things differently. Was that kind of an eye-opening thing for you? And had you ever done anything like that anywhere else?
No, it was definitely eye-opening. But also, I think that's a misnomer sometimes because consensus is tough. Like it's just hard to get 100% consensus on any decision. But what you want to do is have everyone understand why you view it the way you view it, right? And then kind of dig into those pain points of differences. So, hey, I don't think he's as great at this position, or I don't think he does as well separating against this type of coverage. And go study it and challenge yourself to say, hey, am I seeing this correctly, or should I change my opinion? And I think that's the great thing about what we do. Like, we're always challenging each other in some of those smaller areas to question our beliefs, question what we think, and try to get to the right answer versus just our answer.
And so there's a part of this that I think that everybody could go and you could watch tape, right? If you can get the access to it, you can watch tape, and that's a part of the evaluation. Then there's all the meetings and the whiteboards and the medicals, which nobody will ever know. So when players see, oh, this guy was supposed to go number 10 and he ends up going in the 5th round, it turns out there was some medical issue that you typically causes a fall like that. The question I have is, how do you, and I'm sure that there's a huge component, I know there are people involved in the organization whose job is just to try to assess this, but dealing with, like, 21-year-olds are young. They are young people. And, oh, this guy's immature. And, he's 21. Yeah, I'm sure he is a little immature. How do you kind of factor in that human piece of it? You said Bobby Wagner was a special guy, so you wouldn't have had any of those concerns. And I guess it's probably a risk mitigation thing. But how do you kind of deal with that? That, yeah, these are young guys who probably are coming from a situation where they were like the dude on campus, where everybody was like, you're the greatest thing ever. Probably was true in high school. And that's basically their formative life. And now they're about to be millionaires. That's, I think, a hard part to get your head around.
So I'll say, one, it's tough. Whoever has the answer to that is probably really, really rich to have it down packed in every instance. So it's just tough, right? You're dealing with humans. We're fallible. We're all unique, all 8 billion of us. So that's the one part. Honestly, it is complicated. But two, honestly, you try to build a good process. And so we try to have metrics and different things in place that we're looking for to help us assess, whether it's high, medium, low, or pretty good, pretty bad risk in terms of who they might be. At the end of the day, you don't know.
Right.
You know, like they can not have any incidents in college and come into the league and make a poor decision, or they could have really struggled because they were immature, didn't have the right setup in college, and come into the league and turn into a pretty good young man and adult. So you just try to make the best decisions with the information you have, but the bigger point is it's really tough to do that. It's really tough.
Yeah, it is. And I think we talk about all the time with Coach during the, when we do Coach Stefanski's show is how collaborative he is in the process of coaching. And that same thing here in this organization applies to the front office in terms of the collaboration that comes in the organization. And it feels like from my vantage point, I won't speak for you, but I'm sure that you and I share this, in that for you guys when it comes to the next few days, it's kind of like you've done the homework. This is the fun part. It doesn't feel like it's an emotional thing. Like it is, because there's emotion to adding people to your family, so to speak. But in terms of the decisions that are made, it's pretty level here.
I mean, when you have good people who are smart, all working in the same direction, it's going to be good. You know, I think at the end of the day, that's what our group is. We all care about the same things. We're all trying to accomplish the same goal, and that's just win. So we're trying to provide our coaching staff with the best players. Our coaches are going to coach them up the best. And then our support staff, we're going to give them the best resources we can. We've tried to keep it that simple and not make it too complicated. And so far, I feel like we have done that as a group, and hopefully we'll continue to do it. But yeah, it should be fun. You know, like you said, at least I can speak for myself. This stuff you dream about doing. Being in the draft room and picking players and seeing them walk across the stage. So this is a fun part for us. Definitely the fun part for the players. So it should be an exciting next few days.
I think it's going to be an exciting week plus, and what I mean by that is you have the draft, and then I know a lot of the people in this building. You guys get fired up for the undrafted free agent process because that's like recruiting. It's like trying to get somebody. Would you come on over here? And there's kind of a back and forth in that. You have that, and then I feel, and we've talked about this a lot, and I won't speak for you, but I believe we've talked about it, so I know you feel the same way, but. It seems to me there is an overabundance of very talented veterans that have not signed compared to other years. And so I feel a lot of them are probably waiting for the draft, how that shakes out, how teams then need to go approach it. So it feels to me like we're going to have this bizarre kind of third wave of real free agency along with college free agency coming out of the draft. Do you agree with that or am I?
No, I mean, so obviously it's been probably quiet the last week. Teams are trying to prepare for the draft and make sure they have their strategy down pat. But to your point, there are a lot of quality football players still on the street, so to speak. So yeah, once teams get through the draft and maybe they didn't acquire a player at a position they wanted, I think you'll start to see more moves and see more guys sign contracts. It's been very unique the last couple of years, not only this year, in terms of just you look up and it's June and oh man, that dude is still available. He still could sign with the team. So don't be surprised.
Yeah.
No, certainly not. And I think one thing that
he should have looked right at the camera when he said that. That was a camera
one
line.
of those. Yeah.
Don't be surprised.
I don't know. I know you and I've talked about this. Like I've loved as a little kid the draft. Like that Saturday.
The best.
Sign me up. Like I'm taking notes. Who got better? Grading each. I'm Mini Mel Kiper doing all this stuff.
Did you guys see AB's contract?
We told him. I said,
I feel like he doesn't love it. I don't think he loves that it's out in the mix.
He should. It's incredible.
It's great.
He actually got when he was 10. He played NFL general manager and he became one. I would have grown up as a GI Joe if that was the case. So that's the difference, in those two things. No, I did see that, and I never take. And now that in the organization and seeing it in person here, you never take for granted the dream that you're making.
Right.
And the voyage that kid has gone through, the work, you've done it. You did the work. You lived that life, and the amount of practice and work. And it's one thing, you dream of playing college football. You dare to dream to play in the league. But then all of a sudden, and honestly, when your name is called, my guess is if there's disappointment that you slipped, it all goes away. Because you just want to hear that name.
So I tell guys on their visits or when I see them throughout the spring, listen, I know it's an interview of some sorts, right? Like you're still trying to potentially sell yourself in terms of your ability on the field or who you are as a human being. But make sure you take a moment and be grateful and celebrate getting to this point. Like you've been playing. Some guys have been playing since 5. I started playing when I was 9. Some people starting high school, but think about that journey and not just your 4 years in college. Like a lot of people want to be in your position, even if you get drafted in the 7th round.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people want to be in your position to say, hey, I got drafted. And just don't take that for granted. So I agree with you. I hope and I think most of the guys celebrated. You see the tears and the passion flow because it is a relief. Like you kind of like ball up and you get anxious. And then when you can finally release it, it's pretty cool. So, hopefully we can make more than a couple guys' dreams come true this weekend, and it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of dreams come true, I don't know if you were GMing when you were 10, but it feels like this is becoming a factory here, and you got to go on some interviews that had to be pretty darn cool for you to get that experience. And what was kind of that like? And, when you dream about being the guy, because when Depot told me about that exercise, he goes, at the end, he said, the only person in this room that's going to for sure pick somebody that's not on their do not pick list is Andrew Barry. The end. Finish. And someday, hopefully that's going to be true of you.
I'll say one thing. Don't rush to the seat. I'm not rushing to it. I think between watching Andrew and some other people live that life, I think you grow an appreciation for how tough the job is.
Yeah.
And I've definitely done that. And then going through the interview process, it was challenging. I think both organizations really put us all through the ringer and really wanted to see who we are as people. I think I showed myself well, and there's things I learned about me that I'm going to try to work on. But really my focus is, hey, let's get us, to compete for championships. And
Absolutely.
All that other stuff will
Take care
work
of itself.
Out. Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah,
but still, a nice honor.
No,
we were
I
happy to see it
appreciate
for you.
I appreciate it.
And well deserved.
Yeah.
Always good talking to you, buddy.
Same.
Yeah.
This was really enjoyable. I know I enjoyed it a great deal, my friend.
Next time he's here, when he hits the money lines, he's gonna. You're watch. You're gonna watch the camera. I saw it. He's ready. Yeah, he's ready.
Well, I didn't know which.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
There's
you have a
several.
bunch. You probably could
You
go.
know what I mean?
Was he on his solo? Was he on his ISO, Gibbe?
I did have an ISO.
Oh,
cam
so you're
on
right.
him.
So ISO.
Oh.
Yeah. So maybe he did. Maybe he gave it a little glance. Maybe it was close enough. Yeah.
Gibbe's directing the cameras too now.
He does it all.
It's been an hour, kids.
He does everything.
I don't think anybody needs a shot of Jameson more than me right now. I'm not gonna lie.
Why would we give Gibby more responsibility? What are we doing?
Man of many talents.
That's right.
Adderella, get it. Get on the. Be the director back there, for God's sakes. Good talking.
He's
to you,
just
buddy.
riding the coattails.
Have a good weekend.
You guys
Our
too.
great
Yes,
friend,
can't
Bo
wait.
Cook, Vice President of Player Personnel, and one of the very, very bright minds in this organization. If a car, truck, or motorcycle accident caused you injury, call the injury lawyers at 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk & Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. And the Bath Authority can give you the bathroom of your dreams. And they can do it for you in about a day. You can transform your current bathroom into a custom bath. It'll feel like a spa experience in there. Let the Bath Authority make it a reality for you at a fraction of the cost of the competitors. The Bath Authority is Cleveland's premier bath and shower remodeler. They are experts. They are factory trained. They have the largest selection of bath projects. They're all made in the United States of A. They can change your bathroom from outdated to outstanding. Acrylic tubs, insulate and keep the heat in. Superior products, expert installers. And if you give them a call right now, $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. That number is 216-220-8399, or go to thebathauthority.com. How are you? We had an hour.
Good. I couldn't believe it's 2:00 already.
You're suited up.
I am.
For those just now joining off the top of the show, very, very special. We announced the new look Game Day Radio team, and Z heading into the Doug Deacon radio booth and joining Jim in that role, and then Gerard coming in on the sidelines. And it was great off the top of the show talking about all this with all of you. But for you personally, pal, I know one of the things about you that I find so incredible is your preparedness. So I know what you did just from a sideline perspective. The amount of work that you're going to put in on this thing is going to be remarkable. And the preparedness that you will have for this will be nothing short of elite. Big responsibility with this. I know you don't take it lightly.
I do not at all. And like I said, it's such a great honor, and it's such a privilege to be in the booth and to be in the Doug Deacon radio booth alongside Jim Donovan and to just be a part of that. And I know that I play a very small role, and quite frankly, in radio broadcasting for the National Football League, it's the play-by-play guy show. And guess what? We happen to have the best in the NFL. And so my job is going to be to try to add insights where I can and have some fun and share the things that I've learned, from the coaches and from the players and from, watching the tape and getting into our opponents and their tendencies and what they like to do and trying to share that with our audience so that when we watch it, we're going to all be in awe of Jim's calls and having fun and hopefully enjoying what we see on the field. And I'll try to kind of explain a little bit of the why and a little bit of the stories behind that. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I am so excited and so just – like I said, I can't wait for it. I appreciate all the kind words that you said, and so many people have already reached out to me on text and on Twitter, and I appreciate everything that, everybody who supported me and helped me get here, because this is something that for a while probably was not possible. Like, it didn't seem like this was something that was actually possible to get to do it, and so I couldn't be more ecstatic to be able to do this and make this dream come true, and I think it's going to be so fun. I think this team's going to be good, and it's crazy, but yeah, I will put in the work.
These jobs, brother.
Yeah, I will. Nobody will have to worry about that. I will know everything that I can possibly know about the matchup, our team, their team, everything possible to try to enhance the broadcast experience and just add, as they say, a little color to the side of it. And like I said, Jim's the prime rib. I'm a little accoutrement on the side. Maybe I'm just give you a little dash of au jus here and there, and we'll be off to the races.
You're not leaving me with him, are you? Alone, right?
I don't know. Apparently, according to social media, you don't want that. The guy's got an anger issue. People reacted. That's what people are saying. People are saying that Gibbs produces an episode of the BPA. We do that one. People have enjoyed that one, which is no surprise. And Gibbs is like smiling throughout the entire thing, and people were giving you a tough time on the social, Gibby. Which is hurt. You're a big Teddy.
One jabroni.
I've never even seen you mad. Great use of jabroni. Never even seen you mad. I don't think I have seen you mad. Have I seen you mad?
Yes.
At me?
I've seen Gibby mad.
Once or twice.
What did I do? What'd I do? Let's not. We'll relive it off the air. You can remind me of something dumb that I did.
You've seen me angry.
Oh, I've seen you angry for sure.
Well, I've seen him in full cage rattling mode.
No. You and Ken got a front row seat once to me really angry.
Oh. Indeed, I did. Indeed. I did. A lot of people were angry that day, my friend.
Yeah, I was not the only one.
No, you weren't.
Gibby, have you seen the I was shocked in the break to come to the realization that Zegura had not seen the 80s classic, Just One of the Guys.
I have not seen it
either.
either.
You have not seen it either.
No.
I've never even
It feels like a stunning
heard
hole
of
in
it.
both of your resumes, considering we're men were 40.
I've
this was
never
consistently on rotation on
even
HBO.
heard of it.
When we
and
were
I watched
kids.
all that stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, I saw
I've never.
Can't Buy Me Love,
Right. I mean, it's in that realm. Like Johnny Lawrence
Soul
is in
Man.
it.
Like, I mean, I saw all those movies.
Yeah, it's
a lot
in-
of Transform, Big. A lot of I've never heard
Yes.
of this type of a transformation. Is this you're purporting? And then the poster made it look like it was a football movie. And I was like, I know Wildcats. I got Necessary Roughness for you.
Not football movie.
No.
Yeah. Shocked.
I've never heard. Who's in it?
Johnny Lawrence is in it. He's the big bad.
Hold on. My
I
question
think
to you
Sherilyn
is
Fenn's in it.
my question
I'm
to
not
you.
sure who the lead is. I don't know that she was in a lot of other things.
No, I've never even seen her. I recognize the sidekick guy was in a bunch of 80s stuff. But like, okay, first of all,
Sidekick, the brother is great.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was in
yeah.
a ton of stuff.
he's in a ton of stuff.
But like,
Yeah.
I
And
can't.
The same guy.
First of all, if I
always.
was watching this movie, I kind of minded nerd
What was the name of
that
this
garbage
movie?
off.
just one of the guys.
I can't. I mean, the Marlboro Man probably has no time for just one of the guys. Like, what would he say when you were watching just
Do you
one of
think
the
I
guys?
watched it with him?
I don't
He
know.
wasn't in the mix.
We only had one TV in my house, so if I was watching it, I was in the
No,
living room,
he
and
didn't-
if I was in the living room, my dad was in his chair in
Yeah.
air quotes because he had his chair. This is where
No,
this is where he posted
he
up.
was out of the mix. He was outside a lot. I mean, there were a lot of times where you could pull something like this off and get around it. Let me
and
see.
I feel like I'm pretty well versed on 80s
I know
classics.
that's why I'm shocked. Yeah, a Joyce Heiser is your lead.
Huh?
And yeah, there's not a whole lot of in the resume.
I mean, it's an hour and 40 minutes.
It's great. She's in This Is Spinal Tap.
Boy, have you
The
seen that
Flash.
movie?
I have, yeah. Yeah. Had a decent
Something
run.
I can't really talk about on the air.
Hasn't well, yeah. And then it's a lot of from that point on, it's a lot of had a run on The Bold and the Beautiful as a stewardess, and here she headlined this. She was in L.A. Law, had a real run in the mid '80s, and it all went to hell. I'm going to tell you what, it's got everything you want. It's got everything you want.
It's got everything you want. I just feel like when I think of like Pantheon 80s movies.
I don't know that it's Pantheon, but it's in that mix. It's in
All right,
that
so are you
16 candles.
You're
It's
going to put
in
on Can't Buy Me Love level? Is that
It's
on
in a Can't
Soul
Buy-
Man level?
It's in that realm.
Well,
it's,
clearly
it's one
in
of
that realm.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in that realm of movies. Like that's the. It has. It
It's also
hits
in a
all
realm of movies that would not be made today.
Correct. It hits all the benchmarks that a mid '80s movie, sophomoric '80s certain '80s benchmarks you have to hit. It hit all of them. So that's good. Did you guys watch? You got?
Can I just make a comment real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
We've never really accounted for the Glenn Cook saunter before. It's really kind of just a gliding.
To be fair, he's probably is the original saunter.
I'm sure.
And he's probably the only one who really carries it.
There's a lot back in that saunter up.
Yeah, there's a lot to that. There are others who saunter around here that's, it's false bravado. That's real bravado.
That is
with
earned.
Mr. Cook.
Yeah.
He was a dude in high school.
All right, hold on. This
I'm
just
telling
came in from my buddy Burns. Just one of the guys is awesome. Watch
course.
it a zillion times as a kid.
Of course he did.
I know not of this movie.
Yeah, Burns is right.
Burns is a smart man.
Yeah, Burns knows. Yeah, it's on the list of really important 80s movies that are in that genre. It's on that list.
Okay. All right. I'm going to add it. I don't know when I'm going to have this viewing, but I'm going to make sure that we have it.
Is it streaming?
It's got to be somewhere. This feels like it's on Netflix.
Or all those other? I don't
It
know.
feels
Netflix
like
is
I'm
losing all of its.
I know,
it's
but
losing
this,
all of its
I don't-
catalog.
that's because people want the movies back. This doesn't feel like a movie that somebody's demanding to have back in their exclusive catalog. Get Peacock
If
Plus
you're
now.
aware of it, if
Yeah.
those that are aware.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. You can watch it on Pluto TV,
No, right off the bat.
Prime Video.
Huh? Prime Video. Got it. Boom. Like, do we have to rent it on Prime Video, or is
Let's
this for
see.
free?
Let's see if it just comes with Prime.
This feels like a $5.99.
No, you gotta rent it. $3.99.
$3.99.
You can buy it for $8, and then you can run it back.
That's what. If the buy it now, I don't know if you do this, but if the rent fee is single digits and the buy it now fee is also single digits, I'll buy it every time. Just because in
Every
the
time.
event,
Yeah.
and typically I'll never watch it again, but in the event that I will, the fact that I'd have to rent it again and be limited to 48 hours,
That's my philosophy on that is because most of the times when we take something off Prime, it's for the children, and so the odds are they're gonna want to run it back, like Sing or any of these. So even if those
Yeah.
are in the 20s, I do it because I know I'm going to be renting that thing 100
Oh,
times
yeah.
between now and forever.
So, by the way, folks, no scores here or whatever, but it feels like while it is the day before the draft,
Is it?
not for us. Doesn't feel like it is for us. Feels like it is December 23rd, which unless it's your birthday or the birthday of somebody that you really care about is kind of like a forgotten day. Like nobody's, it's December 23rd. Get to the 24th. Now you're cooking with gas, talking about a little Christmas Eve, then Christmas. For us, this typically would be the eve, not this year.
I think in general, it's a ho-hum draft. It just is. I mean, that's just the reality. And I think it'll show in the ratings. I think this will be a down ratings draft. When you have the beautiful thing of the NFL draft in most instances is, and I think this is kind of a reflection on the way teams are now viewing first-round picks versus how we used to. We used to view first-round picks as you can't touch them. Will not trade them.
Yeah, now let's get somebody who's really, really,
now we're
really
like,
good.
hey, you can have all the ones you want. We'll take a dude.
Who we've seen play
Who we know who he is.
in the league.
That's right.
And
That's
be
right.
great.
That's right. So that's what's changed. But of
course.
for most of our time around the league, loving the league, you do not trade ones.
You do not.
You protected them like they were your firstborn. And that has changed. So that has led to several teams controlling most of this first round. You add to that, and it doesn't feel like there's a I asked this to Sam Monson this morning. Let me ask it to you guys. Is there any team in this draft that with this draft hitting it out of the park, it changes their standing and the way you view them? Because the two that come to mind are the two New Yorks.
I was going to say the Jets is the first.
But the
thing that
problem
came
for
to mind.
them is they're in the AFC.
So
the one that I think is, could the Giants pick at what, 5 and 9 or something like? They're two high picks. The Giants have a lot of weapons on offense.
Here's
there's
the
the
other
Tony
team I
thing
would
that's
say.
out there. Who else?
The Eagles.
Well,
and
and
not
that's
with
the
who they
curveball.
draft, but if they do something.
If they
And by the way, I'm
swing
really
for
trying to
this.
speak this into existence. This has really
Well-
come out of nowhere other than just dot connecting by us because we're educated gentlemen.
Yeah, and I think you say to yourself, like, you now they're in a position to swing for the fences.
They're going to try.
Yeah.
Will it happen? I don't know, but I
have
guarantee
no
they
idea.
will try.
Yeah, they'll call.
Oh, they'll call.
And the offer, I mean, like I said, they can give up 4 ones in 2 drafts. This one and next one, that's pretty good. As you're trying to, if you were in the market of moving off of a transformative player like would potentially be in the mix. So I don't know. I don't sense, like we say Jets, but to me there's nothing they're going to do at this draft that I'm going to be like, okay, now they're a contender. Because they still have big questions at quarterback. So Well,
right. If Zach Wilson is who they believe Zach Wilson is, right? But if the Jets, let's say, got a really good player with one of their picks and traded the other and got Deebo Samuel, you'd be like, okay. Now, does that immediately catapult them ahead of New England? No. Does it immediately catapult them ahead of Miami? No. So does it really change their standing? I guess not. But you could also the problem is you'd add them to, okay, here's the 14th team now that's convinced they're going to the playoffs.
Yeah, see, if I'm them, I don't think their window's now. Like, they're still a couple of years from their window. Like, if I were them, I wouldn't do the Deebo thing because I don't think they're there yet. I think they need more things. They need more depth of talent.
It depends on what they think. But all of a sudden, let's just play, like a little devil's advocate. They didn't get the benefits of Carl Lawson last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
He comes back. You've got a good defensive coach, obviously, in Saleh. You've got a good offensive mind in LaFleur. If you are trotting out your 3 receiver sets with Corey Davis, with Elijah Moore and Deebo Samuel, like, that's pretty formidable.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like a quarterback's going to have some success there. Get somebody to run the ball or catch the ball, fine. But just that trio is pretty darn good. So could they be interesting? Sure. The Dolphins, I feel like, how are the Dolphins not going to be interesting? Well, the question is Tua. But are they setting themselves up to be the next ready-made place that somebody says, you know what? I'd like to go to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. Feels that way. And Tua's going to try to shut everybody up that thinks that's what's happening, that he's just a placeholder until they get the dude.
Yeah.
It's just loaded, man. That's the thing. And here's the thing. You mentioned this draft. We talked about it. 8 teams control half of the draft picks in the first round. 8.
Yeah.
Which means there are, I think it's 7 teams that don't have picks in the first round this year. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So it's 7 markets that aren't as affected. I think you couple that with the standpoint of You don't have the quarterback intrigue. Like I know that in 2019 when we didn't have a 1, the ratings were still really big for the draft here. And the ratings will be big for the draft here regardless. But the fact that there's no quarterbacks of consequence, I think, being drafted is the other kind of factor here.
Who else
you're not
went
waiting on that?
in 19, and I can't recall off the top of my head for some reason, but 19 was Kyler. Who else went at quarterback in that draft? Because I feel like there's a big –
It's a Dan Dimes draft, right?
Danny Dimes. Right, Danny Dimes.
Haskins.
That's what it was. Those were the 3 first-rounders.
And there, Kyler was a known, and Haskins was a Heisman finalist at Ohio State and a first-round pick. So, that draft – okay, so here you go. This kind of buttresses the point. So Murray goes 1 in 19.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is Nick Bosa.
Yep.
Okay, so dudes, 1, 2. Quinnen Williams, Cleveland Farrell, Devin White, our guy, Devin White. I believe we had that.
On the steed.
That would be the answer to my Glenn Cook question. He would be on the short list of answers.
Mine would have been Allen Robinson.
Where we were like.
And he was a second-round pick.
Stud. Yeah,
late second-round pick. I think he was in this 60 or something like that.
Yeah. Yep. Danny Dimes went 6. Josh Allen, the other one, the Kentucky.
Who's darn good for the Jags, right?
Yeah. T.J. Hawkinson, Ed Oliver, still sits in there on his steed. Devin Bush, of course, to Pittsburgh. Jonah Williams, Rashawn Gary. Yeah, I mean, Dwayne Haskins.
And then Dimes is what, like 16th?
Yeah. Jeffrey Simmons went 19 in that draft.
And so Jeffrey Simmons.
There's your doppelganger.
That's the guy, right? That's the Ojabo of this draft in terms of a guy that was a stud.
Mm-hmm.
It was a top 5 talent. Now, Ojabo's not a top 5 talent, which is why I think he could fall into the second round, which in my mock draft, that's the scenario that I have for the Browns. But yeah, he's a pretty darn good player. But Simmons has turned out to be just an absolute monster.
Here are the second-round receivers in 19. Debo goes 36.
Yep.
A.J. Brown goes 51. DK Metcalf 64.
Yeah. Is Deontay Johnson in that too?
I don't see. He might be third. He's top of the third. He went 66. So those 4 all go in the second and third round in 2019. Terry McLaurin went 76th.
Went 4th round.
Third round. McLaurin went 76th overall. Winovich, 1 spot ahead of Chase Winovich, went 77. Holy cow. That's crazy at receiver.
Yeah, pretty good.
See, I don't think that's going to happen again, though, because I think
They're
people
going.
are getting smarter to the receivers.
They're going.
Look at that. That's 5 guys, all dudes.
How many went in the first round in that one since you have it in front of you right now? Receivers.
N'Keal Harry went 32.
Bust.
Marquise Brown to Baltimore. Hollywood Brown went 25.
Yeah.
That's it. Just 2.
That's it?
That's it. That's how much the league's changed in 2 years.
Yeah. Go back to the 20 draft. You had a ton of them. 21 draft, you had a ton of them. 20 draft, you had Ruggs. You had
2020
Judy,
draft.
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. 2020 draft. Ruggs was first. He was the first receiver off the board. He went 12th. Judy went 15. CeeDee Lamb went 17. Jalen Reagor went 21. Justin Jefferson went 22. Brandon Ayuk went 25. Second round had Higgins and Pittman off the board right away.
That's 7.
Laviska Shenault went 42. KJ Hamler went 46. Chase Claypool 49.
That's 10.
Van Jefferson went 57.
11.
Yeah. Denzel Mims 59.
12.
So that's 2020. So that tells you the difference in just 1 year how we viewed receiver.
Yeah. And it feels like it's not going to change year after year. And I think the Browns are in an interesting position. I know there are a lot of people that want the Browns to take a wide receiver at 44. And I get that. I understand that want. I don't know if the guys that you want for the Browns, I don't know if any of them are going to be on the board at 44. And if there is one that might be on the board at 44, it feels like Pickens, from the stuff that's coming out about him, sure, he's talented, coming off an injury, but there feels like there's a lot of red flags. He might be the one, and he might be a guy who has a free fall. But at the same time, he's a guy that could be a top 5 talent in this class. Yeah. I just don't know who matches up.
Well, I think what you say is if you don't have that receiver at 44, it feels like receiver defensive end. But if you don't get that receiver at 44, then you got to get, because we need somebody opposite Amari.
No doubt.
So that's got to get
Listen, I
sorted
love
out.
DPJ, and I think DPJ can absolutely be an effective receiver in this league. I think we've seen it, and I think he will only get better with Deshaun Watson. But what we need is either A, Anthony Schwartz to really step up on the outside, or we need to get somebody outside that can take the top off the defense to let Amari Cooper. Like, I envision Amari Cooper, great route runner, gets open all the time. Yes, he's more of a vertical threat than Thielen, but when you think about this offense and what it was in Minnesota, I see Amari kind of in that Thielen role where he can vacuum the ball up, give you 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns, but he's not the game wrecker, which is, I think, what we're still looking for. And then you're talking about a guy out of the slot who can be a catch-and-run guy, or a guy that's just a guy who gets open and does everything the right way, like Jarvis, if you brought Jarvis back to play on the inside. But, you don't want Schwartz to step up, and he was a third-round pick a year ago. We need to see some production out of Anthony Schwartz this year, but I do think you need to add somebody on the outside. There's still veterans, Will Fuller, Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson already has liked a picture of him in a Browns jersey, and so who knows there, but he can still fly. He was very productive vertically for the Rams and for the Raiders last year.
Yeah. A lot of options out there. But, yeah, I think it's a little flat for several of those reasons. A lot of bad advice out there about gambling, from secret methods to picking lottery numbers to betting big when you're on a roll. The miss can lose you money, get you in a lot of trouble. So before you wager, find out what's real and what isn't at keepitfunohio.com. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family-owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you'll be part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. Did you guys watch Ja last night? Did you see any of it, or you just see it this morning?
I saw all I needed to see when I saw him posterize. One of the worst posters I've ever seen in my life. And the guy kind of knew it. He was getting out of the way. But, I mean, he took off. It was almost like a Jordan dunk that was also in a game in somebody's face.
Well, so I was watching it live. It was the
end of the third quarter.
End of the third quarter. That's an awesome series. Awesome. And the young talent in it is stunning.
Yeah.
So I have a little personal tie. Covered D'Angelo Russell. Loved covering him at Ohio State. Great kid. Delightful kid. And then Scooney Penn is on the Memphis staff. So great friend of mine, and he's on the Memphis staff. So you follow him. And I remember when they drafted Ja, and early on I was talking to Scooney, and I said, is it all right for me to get the boys his jersey? Like, is he a good human? He's like, great human. Like, he checks every box. So what I was thinking about, though, watching it, because at the end of the game, Edwards, who was the number one pick a couple of years ago, hits the three to tie it with 3 seconds to go, and then Ja finishes a walk-off layup.
And Edwards went for the steal at the end? I read some quote where he said, I made the
kind of
determination I was going to go for the steal instead of, and he said, I should just
turned
play defense.
and got there. I mean, he got
Keep
the cup.
The guy in front of you. It's that easy.
Stay between the ball handler and the basket.
Like, if you can't defend him to the point, I watched it live. My wife's got a little bit of a sinus thing going on. I woke her up. She threatened to divorce me. I went downstairs and was screaming at the TV. If you can't get there, just pull back because you've got to keep – he has to be in front of you.
Yeah.
You have to be between him and the hoop. And I did not understand that.
I mean, it's a miss. It's a big miss. It also speaks to, I think, Ja's success this year speaks to what's happened in that league, where so many guys shoot threes that the game has become so spread out that if you are a slasher, a penetrator, you can feast because there's nobody there. Oftentimes you break a guy down, you're unencumbered to the rim. There's not rim protectors anymore. Bigs are out shooting threes, so there's nobody to fear at the rim. So you're seeing it. Like, if you're willing to attack, you can get to the cup. Yeah, I mean, Ja just relentlessly attacks.
Was it like
and gravity does not apply to him, apparently. No. He springs off of the ground like it's a trampoline. It's outrageous.
Bounce is pretty real.
They had what? Was it a 6 or 7 point lead the T-Wolves did with like 4 minutes to go?
Yeah.
And he just – like, you knew he was the only one getting the ball.
Yeah.
Karl Anthony Towns. No premature shushes.
No, none of that.
They went down a 23-7 run after he did that?
Well, he's kind of punchable. A lot of the stuff he does is a little bit. It's an incredibly contentious series, though, and it's been really good.
What's it at now?
It's 3-2 now.
Memphis.
Going back to Minnesota, 3-2, which got me thinking, though, about Ja, because it did feel like, in watching it, that it was almost like a hello world moment for him. And I know NBA people are aware of Ja, but it almost felt like, oh, now he's going to be this type of guy. And we've had several of those. I remember Damian Lillard hit that game winner a few years ago in the playoffs where he went and stared at the camera and was like, that one that's the gift, like that one. But it never went to fruition.
Right.
Because, you don't win the next round. He's done. He's out of the playoffs.
Yep.
I thought of, what are great moments where something transcendent happens and it isn't remembered because the team result. For example, if it doesn't happen, if Memphis doesn't win this series, this will all be forgotten.
Yeah,
it's all gone.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to win the series. And the first thing I thought of was like Josh Allen last year against Kansas City. He had 2 game-winning drives. He played perfect quarterback, and I don't know if it'll be remembered because not only did they not even go to the Super Bowl, they didn't go to the AFC Championship game, because Mahomes one-upped him both times. But he was superb in that game.
He was superb in the playoffs. Let me get his playoff stats, because I've been throwing out a stat that I believe is correct. We'll find out if it is. But I think threw 9 touchdowns, and he threw 9 incompletions in the 2 playoff games, I believe is correct. And they did not, to your point, they did not make it to the AFC Championship game. So let's pull up the playoffs here. Last year, few more incompletions. So he only completed 80% of his passes. Sorry. He was 48 of 62, 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, averaged 10 yards an attempt, 13 yards per completion, 318 yards a game and 4.5 touchdowns, and had a quarterback rating of 149.0.
Right. And I don't know 5 years from now if you'll recollect that, or if it's just because it's fresh in our memory we will. Like, if you don't finish the job, it can disappear on you.
I mean, what's amazing is if you remember in 19, his first playoff game, Josh Allen, was the Bills and the Texans, and he was dreadful.
I remember we had the man with whom this show's loins were birthed saying at the Combine, we had him on at the Combine, we had Vic on, and he said he was really down on Josh. Like, he might not be it. Like, they got to figure out if he can be it or not.
Well, he worked hard, and since that time in the playoffs, he's completed over 70% of his passes with 14 touchdowns, 1 interception, and he's won 3 playoff games.
I don't know that anybody has improved more since from what he was going into the league to what he is now.
Yeah.
You know, I truly don't know. I don't know if anybody has.
I'm trying to think 5-6 years ago if there's a playoff team.
Well, yeah, it's a transcendent support. Like, for example, do you think, and it's not the same, and don't act like I'm not saying it's the same, but it's kind of like, it reminded me a little bit on a much smaller level and not the consequences. So I think I put enough precursors into it of LeBron against Detroit when he scored
every
20-some in a row, whatever that was.
Unbelievable.
And it's like, which is one of the most, but do people remember that outside of Cleveland now with LeBron?
And it's
maybe not. It's arguably as dominant as I've ever seen anybody.
An individual in a team sport environment, that was, I think, maybe the best performance ever.
Yeah. And I don't know if people outside of here remember it because that did not result in a championship.
Because then they went and played the Spurs?
Swept.
I remember it.
Yeah, we do.
We're here.
We do.
Sure.
But do the rest of us?
Right.
You know, does everybody else, because it was something that happened in a loss? Like, forever, people remembered the Carlton Fisk home run, the Game 6 Red Sox home run. This?
Right? The wave.
But then they lost. I don't even know. Sometimes that moment was presented almost to where people think the Red Sox won the World Series on that hit. You know?
Yeah.
It's like the Buckner moment.
Right.
They didn't lose the series in that game.
Don't you think those were, though, and for the kids out there, if you were our age and you got Sports Illustrated or one of those magazines, they would send you great moments in sports, VHS, and they would replay that stuff on ESPN all the time. That's how I saw that stuff.
Of course.
There was nowhere else.
And it was in like almost every ad for one of those things. It
was
always in the ads.
Yes.
Yeah, and that would be your team. And that's when you'd get, I mean, those were the glory days when your team would win the Super Bowl and you'd get the big thing, their year video, and you'd get their sweatshirt and, everything like that. When they'd come out with the end of the year reviews and great moments of the year and special issues of Sports Illustrated that had all that stuff. Yeah, that's how you saw a lot of that. Let me ask you, do you think people remember this? Because you talk about winning. So Joe Flacco, do you think people remember in the year that they won the Super Bowl, Joe Flacco, they go 4-0, obviously. They win the Super Bowl. They beat the Niners 2012. That Flacco throws for basically 300 yards a game with 11 touchdowns, no interceptions, averaged 15.6 a completion, 9 yards an attempt, quarterback rating of 120. Like, do you think anybody even remembers Joe Flacco and the role that he played in them winning that Super Bowl?
No, I remember. Didn't they beat
Denver?
Denver, that's the one I remember.
Raheem Moore.
Yeah.
Was at safety. He was with us for a hot second. Yeah.
I was going to say, I think people remember how he bet on himself, but they couldn't tell you who he played or what he did in a game other than, the Super Bowl win over the 49ers. But I couldn't tell you what his stats were, or if there was something that stood out.
I was at that Super Bowl. I remember being on the field after they won it, and the NFL Network postgame was playing in the Superdome.
Yeah.
And Deion Sanders had said, "You're about to get paid." And they did. He did. He did get paid based on – because didn't he bet on himself? I think he
did. He bet on himself.
That's the only thing you remember, though.
Yeah.
And he would make one more appearance in the playoffs in 2014, went 1-1 through 6 touchdowns, 2 picks in those 2 games, but that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to finish the job. Otherwise, it goes away. It'll disappear on you.
Can Garland be Ja Morant?
No. He doesn't have that athleticism. No. Ja is Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook. Derrick Rose prior to injury, Russell Westbrook level explosiveness.
Yeah.
You know, they're just Garland does not have that explosiveness. I think Garland
He's a rim wrecker.
Yeah, he is. To me, Garland's game can be, as he grows, can be how Chris Paul's has been.
Ja also has a little bit of, if he were bigger, and I might actually be wrong on their heights, but he just feels like he's bigger than Steph Marbury. Like when Steph Marbury was in his like peak
Prime, yeah.
because he would dunk on people. He could do it all. But I feel like Ja looks bigger.
If
Maybe
Ja
just,
were 6'6", he'd be like Jordan Kobe,
Yeah.
like from that type of athleticism.
How big is he?
Young. I think he's like 6'2".
Oh, so Ja can't be much bigger than Marbury then.
No, probably not.
Oh, wow.
It was
His
just
bounce, though, is
it was
it's
amazing.
a
TV
Westbrook
franchise.
You knew there was only one guy touching the basketball down the floor.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it was all him.
And I didn't know if anybody else was going to get another touch unless it was an offensive rebound off a miss. And they could not stop it, which
Yeah, what are you going to do? I mean, no, he was sensational. It does feel like one of those moments. We'll get into back to the draft talk here momentarily. Take a look at some of these receivers, specifically guys who could be second rounders. We'll know more, obviously, once the first round and if there's a run. That's coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Are your business operations suffering from internal communication breakdowns? Beau here for my friends at EOX Vantage. The data scientists, also business ops experts. Your EOX Vantage team helps you build a streamlined communication system, brings together your email, chat, intranet announcements, and CRM into one clear flow. Your people, including those who work remotely, gain a centralized hub. It encourages collaboration. No more disconnected communication methods that leave team members out of the loop or not on the same page. Real, everyday business problems solved with EOX Vantage. See how other business owners are getting everyone involved on the same page by visiting EOXVantage.com. Gibbe, you have a list of receiver things you'd like to discuss with us?
Yeah, we can do that. This is from our good friend Cynthia Freeland. 2022 draft pro comparisons, analytical team fits for the top wide receiver prospects. So that being said, from a wide receiver standpoint, Garrett Wilson, her pro comp, Odell. Best
I don't mind that. I don't mind that. I think that's okay.
Okay, maybe there's a little agree or disagree. Danny, if you got a little traveling music.
I think that seems fair. I think there's a lot of similarities there.
Some spectacular catches for sure.
Yeah, I think Garrett is a little, and I didn't know this until we had Odell in the building, and I don't mean this as any sort of slight. I think Garrett physically is a little more imposing than Odell was. I think it's like when we finally got to meet Odell and he was here in the building, I thought he would be physically more imposing.
Until I saw tall, him. But he's in tremendous.
No, of course. But like from a physical trait standpoint, there wasn't. It was just a stunning amount of ball skills and
incredible
and late touch and burst and all of that stuff that was ridiculous,
insane. Ability, body.
But
control,
I think like if two guys are just walking down the street,
sure,
you'd look at Wilson and go, "Yeah, that guy, he looks more the part."
Her team fit for one, Garrett Wilson, the New York Football Jets.
Yeah, I mean that would work.
Yeah, I mean
be a home run.
It'd be you've got, like I said, you would have Elijah Moore working on the inside, Corey Davis, former early first round pick at Tennessee, who's got a 1,000-yard season under his belt, and Wilson. I mean, if Zach Wilson can't make that work, that's on Zach Wilson.
When do they get rid of those uniforms?
I hope so. They had good ones.
They had great ones. I mean, you got.
What's your preferred era for them?
Name it.
Yeah.
Name it.
Or like Pennington. That's what they had with Pennington.
Yeah. The only thing was when Joe was there, when Namath was there, they had it was a little bit more of a Kelly green as opposed to the Hunter.
Yeah.
A little bit of a brighter green, which was great. By the way, as all I Google search is Joe Namath Jets. And among the images that pop up are him and Farrah Fawcett in a towel.
Who's Broadway Joe?
Wow.
Which is fantastic. And this appears to be him. I mean, this is him on the cover of Sports Illustrated in 1970. My God, look at him here.
He looks like he could be on Black Sails.
He could be on Black Sails.
That looks right out of the Black Sails playbook.
They don't even identify the woman who's on the cover with him.
Yeah, it was Mondays.
Jeez. For some reason, he has a holster. He's wearing a holster with bullets in it.
Yeah.
In the thing. What a hero.
What a hero.
He's everything you want. Namath.
Jamison Williams, Alabama.
Okay.
Pro comparison, per Cynthia Freeland. Will Fuller. I feel like she might be doing him a little disservice there.
Will Fuller was incredibly productive when he could stay healthy. Very productive. I feel is he more Deshaun Jackson?
I don't know if he has that. I was thinking Brandon Cooks.
Okay.
But 5'10", I think he's bigger than Cooks.
Yeah, he's 6'1". And he can fly.
I mean, there's some Ruggs to him.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a little bit of that. How big was Ruggs? Is Ruggs?
I think 6'2". I don't know. That dude could dunk a basketball.
His, by the way, her team fit for Mr. Jameson, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep, he'd replace Tyreek Hill.
That'd be a home run. I don't think he'll be there when they pick.
No,
I think someone will go get him.
I think he's going first receiver off the board. Let's go.
Could be.
Hot takes.
All right, who's our comp for Drake London?
Vincent Jackson.
Oh, boy.
And her team fit
I like
Atlanta
that.
Falcons.
Well, he needs a quarterback that can. If he's Vincent Jackson, you need a Phil Rivers. You need somebody to get you the ball down the field because Vincent Jackson was big, fast, strong, vertical. Worked the intermediate game. They'd play him. Norv Turner would play him in the slot, so he could get free releases. Vincent Jackson, I like that. Atlanta.
It feels like Atlanta is going. I mean, they're going to be the worst team in the league, and they will be able to draft C.J. Stroud next year.
But you throw C.J. Stroud with Kyle Pitts and Drake London.
Yeah,
and
now you're off.
You got some. You got some things you can work with.
Her comparison for Chris Olave, Chris Godwin. And the best team fit, the Washington Commanders.
I don't want him
Sorry,
there, and I don't think they would draft him either because McLaurin kind of already is that. Like they're
They use McLaurin vertically.
Yeah, but
Godwin's more your intermediate.
Olave. Then they do. This is Olave, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
this
he's
is
like
Godwin.
a high 4.2 guy.
Yeah.
Like he's a burn guy too. I mean, he can kind of do everything.
Thank you. You want
he
two
really
of those
can.
guys. He's
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson for you.
Yeah, that's the comp for me.
I
Jefferson's
just
a little bigger, I think. But
I love Olave. And
should.
I think that Olave. There are days where I'm like, I think Olave. If I had to take him or Wilson, I would take Olave.
I don't think that's a stretch. I think that's very, very fair to have that opinion. They're both great. I mean, I want him in Green Bay. I want him in Green Bay or Kansas City. I want him with a
Green
dude.
Bay feels.
If he's in
Let's
Green
send
Bay,
him to Green Bay.
Somebody
please.
said he's a better Randall Cobb, and Randall Cobb was really good.
yeah, he is better. He's just so. I'm trying to. I heard Orlovsky say this, and I think this is what Olave is such a clean prospect. There's nothing there that you're like, nothing. I mean, it's just now he's probably doesn't have like Jamar Chase explosive, make you miss, stop, start, all that, but just plug 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns on a good team. I could see it next year. Like if he went to Green Bay, 1,200 yards, 8-9 touchdowns. Yep,
Yeah.
He's
sold.
the man.
Sold. Yep, sold.
Traylon Burks. Some mocks have him pretty high up now. Top 10, top 15.
Yeah.
Some have him not in the first round at all.
Yeah,
I see him
all
slipping
over the map. Traylon Burks, pro comparison, Dez Bryant.
Oh boy.
Best team fit, Philadelphia. I don't think you want to go there.
I mean, I was a big Des Bryant guy.
Yeah.
Stud.
He was a stud at Oklahoma State too.
Yes.
I don't know that Burks has that
Pure
ceiling to him.
receiving, and
Yeah.
he was a receiver. He was
Yeah.
not a.
Yeah, Burks kind of did everything. I mean, he
Did everything.
Did Wildcat, ran the ball.
How far do these go, Gibby? Do we get into the second round, guys?
I'm working my way down. Jahan Dotson.
Oh, good. All right.
Pro comparison is Tyler Lockett.
Yep.
Team
I've
fit,
heard that.
Colts.
Oh boy. They
He's
need
really
some
good.
Speed there. That'd be real nice. Compliment Pittman. That's a nice fire and ice type of a combo there.
And
with
Paris
Jonathan
Campbell, if he
Taylor.
can be healthy.
I do like
'Cause
Paris
he can
Campbell.
burn. He can burn.
Sky Moore, Western Michigan. Pro comparison, Brandon Cooks.
Well, there you go.
Team fit, the New York Football Giants. You can get all the wide receivers, by the way, you want, New York. You still have a garbage quarterback.
D Dimes.
Yeah, great.
Don't they have
How's
to do
that
the fifth-year
working out?
option on him within the next week?
Yep.
Him and Kyler are both
And
up for fifth-year option in
Apparently,
the next week.
there's some thought that they're not going to pick up his fifth-year option.
And then they just have to be in the Cousins situation. If he's great, they franchise him, and if not, yeah, it's not the worst thing.
No.
That's as far as she goes.
That's it.
That's it.
I was hoping to hear what
So
she
who
said
would
for-
still be on the board at that point if the first round ends?
And those 7 go.
Yeah.
You didn't hear Watson's name. You
Pickens.
didn't do him, right? You didn't do Pickens or Watson.
Pickens, Jalen Tolbert from South Alabama, Christian Watson from North Dakota State, John Mechie, Alabama, Alec Pierce, Cincinnati, David Bell, Purdue would be the
David
next.
Bell.
I like
David Bell's a really good player. He's a really,
He's not
really
fast.
good player.
Yeah, but neither was Jarvis coming out. And the guy's all he did was set the record for most catches the first 5 years in the league. You know what I mean? I think Jarvis ran a 4.7 if I'm not mistaken.
I think I had David Bell in a mock I think maybe 1.0.
And he was incredibly productive at Purdue. Now you watched a lot of Purdue, I'm guessing. Did he?
Well, I didn't watch a lot of Purdue. I watched them play Ohio State, and if memory serves, he shredded Ohio State.
So and I wonder, was he a guy that, because Rondale Moore didn't have the impact that I think any of us expected in his rookie year. Not to say that
He
he
started
won't.
to, Bell's big though. Like
Yeah,
was more of
Bell's
a scatter.
6'2", but he ran a 4.65.
He
which
plays
has
bigger than 6 feet.
some people
I know that seems
concerned, and
crazy.
it's not crazy, but that's also hard to do at this level. And here's the summation. He was a guy who finished his career 101.2 receiving yards per game. Smooth, savvy pass catcher, dependable ball skills, flashes Michael Pittman-like ability at times, efficient in and out of his routes, but his ability to uncover is based more on route subtleties and not route suddenness. Overall, he doesn't have ideal speed or explosive traits by NFL standards, but he's a productive ball winner with body control and toughness to translate to the pro game. A high floor, low ceiling NFL starter.
All right, here's what he did against the best defenses they played. Against Notre Dame, he was 7 catches for 64. That's fine. Iowa maybe had the best defense in the Big Ten last year. He was 11 catches for 240.
Jeez.
Michigan State was the number 3 ranked team in the country at the time they played them. He had 11 catches for 217. Ohio State, he had 11 catches for 103. So that in terms of the 4 best defenses, 4 best most talented teams he played, that's what he did.
Sounds like about 600 yards.
That's pretty good.
I'll take that.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. So much more to come right here at 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Beau here for Char Whiskey Bar and Grill in Rocky River. They know what they're doing, kids. Sip on your choice of over 300 premium whiskeys. Their list is premium. craft cocktails while catching a game at the Char Bar. Char also coming out with a new spring menu. It's coming out May 2nd. New items on both the main and brunch menus. Oyster, shrimp, cocktail, and more as they introduce their raw bar specials. Check out the new chicken and waffles on the current brunch menu as well.
20.
It's a winner. Enjoy your meal or drink on the outdoor patio as the weather gets warmer. Support local. Visit Char Whiskey Bar and Grill in Rocky River or at charrockyriver.com. The next level is next. Congratulations, Z. God love you, brother.
Thank
Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.